Luna Fields adjusted the strap of her worn leather bag as she stood in front of the grand iron gates of the mansion-turned gallery. The afternoon sun softening the ornate stone facade of the building did little to mask its air of cold grandeur. Inside awaited an exhibition she had long anticipated, a celebration of modern art that pulsed with promise. Yet, the mansion itself felt imposing, almost unwelcoming, like a fortress guarding treasures meant only for the elite. Luna's fingers curled around the strap tighter. She was acutely aware of how out of place she seemed among the impeccably dressed guests filtering in. Their silk scarves, tailored suits, and easy laughter all spoke a language Luna knew but didn't speak. Victor Langston, the gallery's owner, stood by the entrance like a sentinel, his icy blue eyes missing nothing. He was tall, impeccably groomed, and carried an air of authority that brooked no challenge. His reputation preceded him, a man who had built his empire by collecting not just art, but influence. Luna had heard whispers, his disdain for those he considered beneath him was legendary. Tonight, that reputation was about to make itself terribly real. As Luna wandered through the gallery's hall, studying the carefully curated pieces, her gaze was drawn to a delicate vase resting on a pedestal bathed in soft light. Its intricate patterns seemed to tell stories in colors, a fragile masterpiece. Suddenly, a sharp gasp broke the quiet. The vase had toppled, shattered on the polished marble floor. Eyes turned to Luna, standing nearest, her heart pounding fiercely against her ribs. Victor's voice cut through the murmurs, cold and accusing. "You broke it. You will pay for this." A wave of shock and humiliation washed over Luna as the room tensed. The first crack in the night's veneer had begun, and with it, the beginning of an unraveling neither of them could have guessed. The accusation landed on Luna like a crushing weight. The room, moments ago alive with murmurs of admiration and polite conversation, fell into an oppressive silence. All eyes were fixed on her, some filled with shock, others with disdain. Victor Langston's sharp gaze never faltered as he stood beside the shards of the vase, his tone chillingly precise. "You broke it. There's no doubt. This vase is worth more than most people earn in a year. You will be held responsible." Luna's mind raced, a frantic mix of disbelief and humiliation swirling inside her chest. She hadn't touched the vase. Not once. She still remembered the careful distance she'd kept, the reverence with which she approached the art, the slow turn of her head when she admired a nearby painting. How could she be blamed? But Victor's words echoed, firm and unforgiving. "I didn't break it," she tried to speak, her voice trembling but earnest. "I was near, yes, but I didn't touch it. There must be another explanation." Victor's lips twisted into a cold smirk. "Your protestations don't change the facts, Miss Fields. Several witnesses saw you approach the display. The responsibility lies with those who damage our collections, no exceptions." Whispers rippled through the room, some sympathetic but many judgmental. Luna felt as if she were shrinking, each stare a silent verdict condemning her. The staff, impeccably dressed and trained to maintain decorum, looked away, unwilling to lend support to someone so clearly out of place. Even a few patrons, those who initially smiled at her presence, now avoided eye contact, as though association was shameful. Across the room, Luna caught the briefest glimpse of Victoria Myers, a distant acquaintance who worked in the art magazine industry. Victoria's expression was unreadable, but the slight furrowing of her brow gave away a momentary flicker of concern, quickly replaced by a guarded neutrality. Victor took a step closer, his voice lowering so that only Luna could hear. "This will cost you, Miss Fields. Expect a lawsuit. And don't imagine this ends here." The words hit with brutal finality. Luna's hands clenched into fists. She swallowed hard, fighting back tears of frustration and fear. The room seemed to close in around her, the walls pressing she felt were suffocating. A man nearby, a fellow patron named Andrew Cole, who had earlier exchanged smiles with Luna at the entrance, stepped forward cautiously. Maybe we should call for a security review or check the cameras before jumping to conclusions, he suggested carefully, hoping to temper Victor's harsh stance. Victor waved him off dismissively. Cameras have been checked. There's no footage capturing the actual moment, only the aftermath, the shards and Miss Field standing beside them. His gaze hardened. We must protect the gallery and its reputation. Luna's heart pounded even harder. Frustration and helplessness battled in a swirl of emotions. She was well aware that the gallery's word carried weight, and Victor's influence would sway opinions even if evidence was flimsy. After what felt like an eternity, the murmurs began again, this time less curious and more accusatory. A woman nearby whispered to her companion, "Why would someone lie? It must be true." Another voice added, "People like her don't belong in places like this." Luna's throat tightened. She wanted to defend herself, to explain the truth, not just about the vase, but about who she was and what she stood for. Yet the words caught in her mouth, drowned beneath the weight of judgment. She realized then how easy it was for people to decide one's worth with a glance or a whisper. Even her friends, those she trusted to understand, would soon find it hard to believe her. After the event, Luna found herself wandering the mansion's verdant garden, the late afternoon shadows stretching long over the manicured lawns. The beauty of the surroundings felt cruel in contrast to the turmoil inside her. She pulled her coat tighter around her, the cool breeze brushing against her face as a silent comfort. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a message from Claire, a close friend who had heard about the incident. "Luna, are you okay? I can't believe Victor would accuse you like that." Luna's fingers hovered over the screen before she typed back, "Not really. Everyone's already turned against me. I don't know how to fight this." Minutes later, Claire's reply came. "You're stronger than you think. Don't let him win. I'm here whenever you need me." The warmth of her friend's words was a small light amid the gathering storm. Yet Luna's mind remained clouded with doubt. She wondered how she could possibly counteract a man whose wealth and power insulated him from consequences. Over the next few days, the news of the accusation spread beyond the gallery's walls. Social media began to buzz with gossip. Some voices questioned Luna's character, while others expressed sympathy. Yet the loudest voices belonged to Victor's supporters, those who admired his success and resented the challenge Luna represented. At her workplace, Luna noticed subtle shifts too. Colleagues who once greeted her warmly now avoided her gaze, and invitations to lunch dwindled. It was as if the accusation had cast a shadow over her every move. One afternoon, determined to reclaim some control, Luna attended a meeting with the gallery's legal team, who invited her to negotiate. Victor, predictably, was present, his demeanor icy and unyielding. "You owe us compensation," he declared, his voice echoing in the high-ceilinged room. "We're prepared to take this matter to court." Luna steadied herself, refusing to show how deeply the threat cut. "I want to settle this fairly," she said. "But I also want a thorough investigation into what really happened." Victor's eyes narrowed. "That won't be necessary. The facts are clear." Despite his certainty, Luna noticed a flicker of unease behind his gaze, as if he knew she would not accept a simple dismissal. She caught glimpses of his staff exchanging furtive glances. Perhaps not everyone believed the story as firmly as Victor did. Outside, the city buzzed on, indifferent to Luna's private battle. Weeks passed, and the looming lawsuit became a dark cloud over her life. Yet in the quiet moments, walking through parks, watching the sky change colors, or savoring a cup of coffee alone, Luna felt something else stirring within her. A flicker of resolve, a stubborn refusal to be broken like the shattered vase that had unjustly made her a villain. She began to ask herself some difficult questions. Was this truly about the vase? Or was it about something more, a struggle for respect, a battle against someone intent on keeping her down? How far was she willing to go to reclaim her dignity and rewrite the narrative imposed on her? The path ahead was uncertain, but Luna knew one thing: she wouldn't let this be the story that defined her. There was more to come, even if it felt like she was just beginning to understand how to fight. Had you ever faced a moment when the world seemed ready to judge you unfairly? What would you do if you were in Luna's place? The answer might just surprise you. Luna lay awake that night, the ceiling of her small apartment dimly illuminated by the restless city lights filtering through the window. The events at the gallery churned endlessly through her mind, each replay a different shade of pain and frustration. Doubt gnawed at her. Had she truly misstepped? But deeper than uncertainty was a rising flame of determination. She knew the truth, and she refused to be crushed beneath false accusations and social prejudice. The next morning, Luna embarked on a carefully guarded plan. First, she reached out to people who might have been overlooked: gallery staff who worked quietly in the background, custodians, and delivery personnel. Her genuine kindness and quiet resolve broke down their initial wariness. From them, she learned more about Victor's mercurial management style, his impatience with questions, a tendency to blame employees for any missteps, and an unwavering need for control that often left a trail of disgruntlement. Meanwhile, Luna examined the lawsuit papers with a lawyer she'd consulted discreetly. She was exhausting her savings but refused to let money, or fear, deter her. For days, she buried herself in research, reading about real estate listings associated with the mansion's building, inquiring quietly about ownership details. The discovery came as a jolt. Financial setbacks aside, Luna had the resources to make an astounding move. The very mansion housing the gallery was on the market. The irony wasn't lost on her. Victor Langston, so proud and sure, didn't know he would soon answer to her, not the other way around. With her heart pounding, Luna made the purchase privately, the sudden shift in power crackling silently beneath the city's brisk air. She was now the landlord of the gallery she'd been forced to leave in disgrace. This was more than symbolic, it was a step toward reclaiming the narrative. Victor received the news with characteristic arrogance at first. He scoffed openly, certain that Luna's challenge was doomed to fail. "What could you do with that place that I haven't already?" he sneered during a terse phone call. His voice held no respect, only contempt. But behind the bravado, Luna sensed vulnerability, an unspoken fear of losing control. She relished the subtle satisfaction that came from knowing the tables had turned. In the days that followed, Luna's resolve deepened, but so did her awareness of the complex social web she now navigated. She invited several patrons and gallery employees to private meetings, learning who was frustrated with Victor's domineering presence. While some were cautious, others opened up. They shared tales of stifled creativity, of behind-the-scenes power struggles, and of patrons who longed for a genuine connection to the art rather than a display of wealth. At the same time, Luna wrestled with self-doubt. The question lingered beneath the surface: had she overestimated her strength? Could she orchestrate something truly transformative where Victor had only wielded power? Yet, in quiet moments, she found an unexpected resilience, a voice within that insisted she was more than a victim. Her plans crystallized with growing clarity: an opening event of her own, a grand evening that would celebrate art's true beauty rather than social posturing. She envisioned warmth and openness, a gathering where creativity and authenticity reigned. This was not just about proving Victor wrong but about redefining what success in the art world could mean. Meanwhile, Victor continued to act as though the mansion, and his place in it, were untouchable. Yet he found subtle obstacles emerging: contractors refusing projects, staff wavering in their loyalty, whispered questions among longtime patrons. Luna's influence, quiet but unmistakable, crept in beneath his notice. One afternoon, Luna stood alone in the mansion's opulent main hall, trailing her fingers over the aged wood paneling. She could almost feel the history embedded in the walls, stories of passion, creativity, and struggle. The contrast between this place's potential and Victor's current stewardship was stark. Her phone buzzed. A message from Victoria Myers appeared. "Heard the news. Bold move. Let me know if you want to chat. There are people interested in a different kind of gallery here." Luna smiled faintly. Allies could emerge in unexpected ways. One evening, Luna sat at her desk, sketching ideas for the forthcoming event. The room was cozy but alive with energy. Each detail mattered: lighting, music, guest list. She stressed over the invitations, wanting the right balance of familiar faces and new spirits. Yet as the opening night drew nearer, tensions rose. Victor's public dismissals became sharper. An invitation from him arrived with a hint of mockery: "Careful, Luna, you might outshine yourself and ruin the reputation of this place for good." The line sharpened Luna's focus. This was no longer just about art or vases. It was a clash of values: control versus freedom, elitism versus inclusion. With every challenge, Luna's confidence grew. She realized winning wouldn't come from mirroring Victor's arrogance but from embracing her own authenticity. This was her story to tell, and she intended to tell it boldly. Have you ever wondered what it takes to transform hardship into opportunity? Luna's journey offers a powerful reminder: strength often arises from the quietest places, and courage can turn the tables in the most unexpected ways. The mansion was alive with a hum of anticipation on the night of Luna's opening. Outside, the street lamp shadows mingled with the soft glow spilling from the grand windows, casting an inviting warmth against the chilly evening air. Guests gathered on the manicured lawn, their conversations interwoven with gentle jazz notes drifting from inside. Luna moved through the crowd with a mix of determination and quiet satisfaction. This was her moment. Inside, the atmosphere was a striking departure from the sterility that had defined Victor's gallery. Instead of cold, polished minimalism, Luna's vision breathed organic life. Soft amber lights bounced off paintings that invited contemplation rather than admiration from afar. Sculptures were arranged to encourage touch and interaction. There were spaces for conversation and reflection, and a small but lively bar serving custom cocktails inspired by colors and forms of the artworks. Luna stood near the entrance, feeling the energy swell as guests mingled, laughed, and engaged openly, people who felt welcomed, not scrutinized. The presence of familiar faces, alongside those from the art world who had long desired change, created a vibrant tapestry of support. And then, the moment came. Luna scanned the room and spotted Victor Langston making his entrance. His tailored suit was impeccable, but his usual confidence was tempered by something sharper: an edge of unease. He paused just beyond the doorway, taking in the scene with narrowed eyes and stiff posture. Luna approached him with steady steps, her smile calm but purposeful. "Victor," she said warmly, "I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the new gallery." He looked her over with a cool, lingering gaze. "I must admit, I didn't expect to be invited." "It's your home now, too," Luna replied softly. "Or at least, it was for a long time. But perhaps it's time for a new chapter." Throughout the evening, their exchanges wove a complex dance, sharp words softened by the civility of shared space. Victor's discomfort was palpable, but so was his unwillingness to appear weak before the crowd. He mingled, but his usual commanding presence faltered amid the warmth Luna's event exuded. Guests began to see the contrast even more clearly. Many had quietly suffered under Victor's reign: the rigid social barriers, the dismissiveness toward emerging artists, the obsession with status over substance. Luna offered something deceptively simple yet transformative: respect, inclusivity, and celebration of art's true spirit. Towards the center of the room, Victoria Myers raised a toast, her voice ringing clear and sincere. "To Luna Fields, for reminding us that art belongs to everyone, not just the select few." Applause followed, echoing through the hall. Even some of Victor's longtime supporters found themselves applauding, the gesture born more of acknowledgement than agreement. Victor's jaw tightened, but he said nothing, his gaze flickering briefly toward Luna. For a moment, the proud facade cracked open, revealing the daunting reality beneath. As the evening wore on, Luna gave a brief speech herself. She spoke not of rivalry or blame, but of connection, between artist and audience, between people and passion. Her words resonated, weaving through the room like a thread that tied disparate hearts together. I stand here not to overshadow what came before, she said, but to build upon it, bringing art to a place where it belongs, with all of us. The crowd responded with warmth and renewed energy. The tension began to lift, replaced by a hopeful buzz. Afterwards, as guests filtered out into the night, Luna and Victor lingered in a quiet corner. The power dynamics that had governed their past lingered, but an unspoken shift had taken place. Victor finally spoke, his voice low but honest. "You've changed the game, Luna. I didn't believe you could. But you have." Luna met his gaze, her own steady. "It's not about winning or losing, Victor. It's about making room, for growth, for art, for all of us." The night ended not with dramatic confrontation, but with a subtle turning, a recognition that something new had begun. Watching the moonlight flood the now quiet mansion halls, Luna felt a swell of quiet triumph. The invitation to Victor had been more than a gesture, it was a declaration of intent, a bridge cast across a divide once thought unbridgeable. Have you ever witnessed a moment when true transformation begins, not with conflict, but with courage and grace? Luna's story reminds us that sometimes the most powerful change arrives quietly, reshaping everything in its path without a single shattered vase. Months passed since that luminous evening, and the mansion, once a symbol of rigid elitism, had become a vibrant hub of creativity and connection. Luna Field's name was spoken not as a scandal but as a sign of change, an emblem of courage and vision in a world too often fixated on status and power. The story that had begun with accusation and doubt had reached its crescendo in the art world, but more importantly, in hearts. Luna stood once again in the grand hall, but this time, the atmosphere was charged with quiet reverence. A new exhibition was about to open, one that showcased emerging artists from diverse backgrounds, a celebration of inclusivity that was at the core of her vision. She took a deep breath, recalling the path that led her here, the shattered vase, the harsh words, the lawsuit, and the bold step of buying the mansion itself. It had all felt overwhelming, a gamble against an unyielding force in Victor Langston. But standing now amidst friends, allies, and artists whose faces lit with hope, Luna felt a profound sense of vindication, not from the court of law, but from the court of human respect. Victor, once the towering figure of unchallenged prestige, had faded from the center stage. The social circles that had rallied around his name now whispered of his retreat, his cold dismissal of others leaving him isolated. The patrons who once feared to speak out now saw the limits of arrogance. Luna's grace had unsettled traditions but also opened doors that many had long wished to see unlocked. During the opening, Luna took the stage. There was no grand speech planned, just honest, heartfelt words. "Art is not a possession but a conversation," she said, voice steady and warm. "It speaks through us, reflects our struggles and our joys. Tonight, we honor the voices that too often go unheard. This gallery is a place where every story matters." The applause was genuine and deeply felt, swelling through the hall like a collective heartbeat. Later, Luna made her way through the crowd, pausing to speak with a young artist whose sculpture had been rejected by other galleries. "Thank you for believing in me," the artist whispered, eyes shining. Luna squeezed her hand. "You taught me more than I could ever teach you." Outside, the city lights shimmered, but Luna's gaze lifted to the sky, where a crescent moon hung delicate and steady. In the quiet moments that followed, a message popped up on her phone. It was from Victoria Myers. "You did it, Luna. Your story has touched so many." Luna smiled softly and typed back, "We all have the power to shape the story we want to live. Thank you for standing with me." If Luna's journey has touched your heart and inspired you, consider subscribing to hear more stories of resilience and hope. See you in our next story.